Welcome to MSU Today in studio. I'm Jim Peck. We are talking about sustainability, and my two guests would tell you that that translates into saving the world. They are Jennifer Battle with the Office of Campus Sustainability and Dr. Laurie Thorp. Laurie, you're teaching students about this. Is it too much over the top to say you're trying to save the world with this?
Not at all. In fact, most of my students, when they come to campus, that's tops of their list. They want to save the planet.
So how do you get at that? The idea of sustainability it's kind of become a catch-all phrase.
It has, but most students come with an idea of what it is they want to save on the planet. So it might be plants, it might be animals, it might be global climate change, it might be reducing our dependency on fossil fuels. It has become so much in the news now. That's not a difficult translation to make for them. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and trying to make that translation, do kids show up today ready for things like this? I mean, the world is different from when we used to have to talk about, we had Woodsy Owl talking about recycling and, all of those things, haven't we?
Yeah. No, they are very ready, and in fact we're playing a little bit of catch up here, and it's really nice to see that. Students already know how to recycle. They already are counting their carbon footprint on the meals that they eat. They have all the apps on their phones that do that for them. So they're very savvy with these issues, and so we're really proud that we're now ready to address that in a curricular way, and we now have a sustainability specialization that we can offer them so that they can get credit on their transcript for those sorts of learning that will transpire when they're here.
Hey, Jennifer, I walk around campus, we all do, and see the signs that remind us to recycle and put your mixed paper here, and so I have these little boxes, and I'm always just constantly lost with it. But are those individual efforts enough, or does the university itself, a place like this, that's 45,000 students, a whole bunch of people work here, do we have to make larger strides, take bigger steps?
Absolutely. I think it's a both and. You need all of the efforts, really. You'd mentioned the recycling program. Those types of changes on a campus level scale started with those small individual actions. So you need both in order to get the larger change. We're looking at things on campus like our energy future. What does that look like? And so these are larger efforts that are going to engage the power plant, probably some of the local utilities that we work with, students, researchers, et cetera. So those large efforts are extremely important, but a lot of times those are catalyzed by smaller efforts as well. So, as we think about our energy future, we're going to be engaging smaller research groups, we're going to be engaging students, we're going to be engaging the community and looking at the answers to those questions.
Is this something that a central office can handle, or you mentioned bringing different people to the table? How does that work?
Well, MSU is a community, and that's how we work generally. I think the strength of what we've been able to do is that we are connecting all of our expertise and resources on campus between our students, faculty, operations staff, the people who have research expertise. So my office is actually a very small office, just a couple of people, but the way I look at my job is being able to engage and connect people across campus in order to look at these large, complex problems. Sustainability is not about how to get A plus B to equal C. There are so many aspects of this issue, economic aspects, environmental aspects, how do we maintain these solutions over time? How do we address solutions to problems that are constantly changing? And how do we do that in a way that engages people and being true to what we do here on campus as Spartans? So I look at my role as being a connector. That's usually what I call myself.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be right back after this. Laurie, you're leading a new specialization that looks at these issues. How is that working, and what are these students learning in there?
Well, the specialization is just getting off the ground. This fall will be our first semester beginning. The nuts and bolts of it that make it unique is that it's a competency-based program, which means it's not just a set of courses like most of our other specializations on campus. We have been planning and working with experts for the past 3 years to identify core skills or core competencies that students will show proficiency or mastery in. Then they're going to take those skills and they're going to put those evidence of those skills in an e-portfolio. So that portfolio will be able to go travel with students once they graduate to demonstrate to employers, here are things that I learned, not just a transcript with some grades and some courses on it. And in that specialization, we're covering 8 core competencies that the students will learn while they're here, and they can learn them in a variety of ways. They don't have to just take a course to learn a competency. Students learn, as you know, in many different ways while they're here on campus. They learn by working on undergraduate research projects. They learn in their student organizations. They learn in the outreach and engagement they do in our communities. And as they acquire those skills from those different extracurricular and co-curricular activities, they're going to provide evidence in that e-portfolio that says, yeah, I learned about civic engagement here, or I learned about ecological integrity in this way and in this manner. So we're pretty excited about the uniqueness of this specialization, that it's, as I said, not just a number of credits and a set of courses. It's really looking at student learning and authentic, what we call authentic assessment of that learning, and providing evidence of that learning in this e-portfolio, which is pushing the paradigm on teaching and learning. We don't do a lot of that here on campus, and so we're going to be holding some faculty development and advisor development workshops to help people understand how to teach to this and how to integrate it into the curriculum that exists already on campus.
How much of this translates to students that are not in the specialization? I mean, I think we've talked about the notion that when you come to a place like Michigan State or any of the large universities, you become a citizen of that place. Is part of this teaching people to be better citizens of the world? Does that translate to staff and faculty?
Absolutely. So one of the core competencies is civic engagement, and because we say, you know, you could know all the technical conceptual pieces of sustainability, but if you don't know how to engage in the world, you're not going to be able to move this outward and move sustainability forward. So yes, those students are going to have to demonstrate that they can work in small groups and they can solve problems from multiple perspectives, and that they have an understanding of a number of different cultural nuances to sustainability. And you asked about faculty, so we hope that students will also sort of nudge faculty and staff forward as well as they're acquiring these new skills and knowledge.
And Laurie, to add to that just a little bit, especially on the staff and faculty side, we do have programs at Michigan State, our Environmental Stewards program, that do engage faculty and staff in looking at ways within their community and their office with their colleagues about how to make better decisions for purchasing, how to reduce waste, how to use energy more efficiently. So I think that at MSU, when you come to the university, whether as a faculty member, a student, or a staff member, you're going to be exposed to this because we consider this one of our core values, sustainability. So you're going to feel it in multiple ways. Our environmental steward program has been highly successful. We have over 600 stewards on campus, and there have been some real changes made as a result of just people being conscious of the fact that this is important to MSU, and we're providing in our office resources to them to figure out how to make those changes locally within their world. So that's really important, especially when you have such a large campus, to be able to localize those efforts. And so students are going to get exposure through the specialization, or just by being among students who are involved in the specialization. Those values will translate. Staff are going to feel those types of civic and community responsibilities, and faculty as well. So hopefully what we're doing is not only training students to go out into the world and make a difference, but that we're training our entire community to do that, so they can take those behaviors home. They can express it at Michigan State, and if they ever move on to other places, they can do that and take it with them too.
You make it sound like a lifestyle.
I think it's a culture. It definitely is a culture. Not only to just think about, okay, I have a task and I'm going to do my one task, but to think about it in the context, in a global context. And I think considering sustainability issues, especially these days, is critical to being able to think about your challenges, your tasks, your work in a global context. I think it's just critical.
We'll be right back. Let's talk about food for a minute. MSU has tremendous purchasing power. We have a lot of people here who eat, myself included. How does food play a role in sustainability?
Oh, it's tremendous. I think food is one of the perfect illustrators of sustainability and some of its gains and challenges. We serve at Michigan State about 30,000 meals a day. I mean, that's a lot of food.
Again.
30,000 meals a day, over 30,000 meals a day, and that's just what we serve. I mean, what about what people are bringing on campus and the local restaurants and establishments? So food is a big thing here. Food is both a waste product. It's also there's energy associated in the food system. There's a lot of issues there, water, cleaning. I mean, just you could go into it forever. And so right now we are looking at a couple things for food. We're looking at first our food purchases. I think our customers, our students, faculty, and staff are looking for more local purchases. Some are looking for organic options. They're looking for what they consider more sustainable options, and however that is that they're defining it. So our residential and hospitality services group has been looking at using more locally sourced food. I think now they're at up to about 20% of their food supply is going to come locally. Now, obviously, when you're serving 30,000 meals a day, you need something very reliable and consistent. So, of course, there's still the need to, look at vendors outside of a local area, but there's definitely a focus on looking locally. And the nice thing about that is it's stimulating the economy. It is, providing really good, fresh local food to our students and faculty and staff. The other projects that we're working on in food relate to food waste. So there have been tremendous strides put forward to eliminate the amount of excess waste you have, period, by just kind of right-sizing what you're ordering for what people need. As some of the new dining facilities are definitely using smaller plates and smaller trays so that people are taking less. And helps with the freshman 15 too as well. So, but now we're trying to address what happens to that food waste if you're chopping vegetables and you have a couple ends here. What do we do with that? And we currently have a couple projects underway. One looking at composting with the student organic farm, which Laurie is heavily involved with, and then another one looking at using food waste in an anaerobic digester. And that has tremendous applications. If they're able to make that technology work and scale it up, you can use the byproduct of the methane from the anaerobic digestion process either for power or for just a variety of things.
Now I'm stunned with the phrase anaerobic digester.
Don't ask me to spell it. No.
Okay. Can you tell me what it is?
The simplest way, it's not really pretty, but the simplest way I would describe it is that you just think of your stomach, a digestion process where it breaks down certain things. So right now we obviously have a lot of research farms. We have research animals and they produce manure, and we don't want that in the environment because there are some environmental effects to having a lot of animal waste. So you're taking animal waste, and what they're finding is if you mix it with food or food waste and are able to break it down, it produces gases or things that can be used for power or for other resources and other means. So it's kind of taking two products which before we thought as throwaway products, or who's thinking about what's happening on the farms and the manure. I mean, that's not exactly the most interesting.
Well, and if folks are sitting down to a meal right now, we want to apologize to them for my question about the anaerobic digester. Let's quickly shift to a student organic farm. I go to some of the residence halls and see food that's being grown right here, which is, it can't be all of it, but some of them have special days where you have, where these vegetables all came from local farms. That's pretty cool.
It is very cool for many reasons. We like to say 3 miles from student farm to student fork. That's a partnership that we developed a couple years ago with Residential and Hospitality Services, and it in part helps our student farmers who are learning to be farmers at the Student Organic Farm learn how to contract with an institution, which is another key piece. Not only do they need to learn how to grow the crop, then they need to figure out how to market or outlet their crop. So for us, we run the farm as a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. We also run a farm stand, but that other piece, that helping our students learn what do they need to do to prepare that food, to write a contract with an institution the size of MSU, or for example, the analog would be with a restaurant or another large institution like a hospital or a prison, or our public schools are clamoring for local food. It helps our students look at some of the little barriers and hurdles that they're going to have to get over to contract once they become farmers to sell their food to other people. So that's a really nice, again, MSU being a learning laboratory, for us to say, Residential and Hospitality Services, to enter in a partnership with us to say, yeah, we'll go through this learning with you. So what are the challenges of a big institution contracting with a small farm, which is something that's playing out all across the state. Michigan is the second most diverse agricultural state in the nation. We have lots of small farms here in Michigan that would like to contract with hospitals and schools and other institutions, but there are a lot of barriers there in the supply chain for them to contract. So that's a really neat partnership from that end, the marketing end. But it's also a neat piece for us to have our product being served in the res halls on campus. So yes, once a month you can go to Snyder Phillips and have a Student Organic Farm entree salad. Chef Eric there is wonderful and has partnered with us. And that's another interesting learning piece, is that then our students also see, and chef sees, that you have to plan almost a year in advance to do this. You can't just say, oh, it'd be nice to have organic greens next month on the menu. You have to get that. We have a planning schedule. He has a planning schedule. So our students sit down, our student farmers sit down with Chef Eric and say, okay, let's look at the year and plan out a year's worth of menus for featuring salad from our, we like to call it the Salad Palace, or the Yakeley Hoop House out at the farm. And then we're also selling product to Yakeley Hall, who features our greens on the salad bar. We also have a limited number of times that we are contracting with the Kellogg Center. Mm-hmm. So we partner with the Kellogg Center each year now with a big gala that we host out there, and the chefs come out and feature Michigan products for a 5-course beautiful on-farm meal. And again, it's another way to showcase Michigan farmers and help elevate them to have connections with institutions like MSU.
And they're really being propelled to a new way of thinking about farming and what it means to be a farmer today.
Absolutely, absolutely. We really are appreciative of what chefs are doing to help the consumer think differently about cooking and food, and bringing this great heightened awareness about fresh, local, organic, sustainable. That movement has just exploded in the last 5 years. And then we think, a lot of big name chefs that are starting to put farmers front and center to their restaurants.
Hold that thought, we'll be right back. I know, because I was talking with you about this, I was complaining about the fact that our air conditioning wasn't working in our office, and you said we don't even have
we don't
air
have an air
conditioning.
conditioner.
And I felt, as we're sitting here in the studio, studios get very warm, folks, with the lights and all this stuff here. I felt the air conditioning kick on, and I wondered, did that just make you angry right off the bat?
No. I was getting ready to strip off my microphone and walk out the door. No, I think our buildings, that's a great topic. Michigan State, and I'm sure a lot of large institutions can relate. We have buildings that are old.
Yes.
We've got the whole spectrum, old buildings, young buildings, et cetera. And how to, create a space that is comfortable, functional, and efficient is a challenge sometimes, especially when you're dealing with the diversity of spaces that we have. But it's a really interesting topic, because as we continue to bring more world-class research onto our campus, there are going to be some needs for these spaces. We have to think differently about how we do this. I think our stat is a little over 10 years, we had 2 million square feet every 10 years. And space and land and energy, these are limited resources. So how do we continue to support our research, teaching, and outreach missions and still provide people what they need without and still be responsible for the resources that we're using? So space is a huge thing. We've actually done a lot in classroom, what we call a classroom and event consolidation, shortening our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning run times, so that before, we're used to walking in and having everything being perfectly situated. It's a perfect 72 degrees in my office, and now we're cutting back those times so it kicks on maybe a little bit later and comes off a little bit earlier. And simply by doing that, we can save about 3% energy for each of our buildings. And so we've done that, and nobody's complained, nobody's noticed. We've also done some things in the consolidation to think about how we're using and scheduling space. So for example, we may have had classes open past 5 o'clock, or classes going on in buildings and making the building open past 5 o'clock. That causes the entire space to be heated and cooled and the building to be open. That didn't really make much sense. So what we would do is think about a building across the street that was already heavily utilized and move the classes across the street to that building. Still has the same technology, still has the same setup, still convenient for the students and for the faculty member, the teaching people who are there. And then that allows us to kind of close down or power down the buildings at night. And we've been able to save quite a bit of energy. One building showed a 20% decrease. So we're really looking at ways that we're using spaces in a much, much smarter way.
Laurie, does a place like MSU need to be kind of a role model to other universities, to other cities?
Oh, no doubt. We need to walk the talk. We're teaching our students these principles in their classroom, so when they get out of the classroom, they need to be able to see it in action. And we've made great strides in the last 5 years doing that. But yes, we also need to be a leader nationally, internationally, so that we're the go-to university when people have questions about these issues. But closest to home, I think we need to be leaders so our students, the minute they hit the ground here, they see the behaviors that we're teaching about in action everywhere they look, where they live, where they go to class, around campus. They need to see those things in action. I like to call that the hidden curriculum. Often those things teach are more lasting than the stuff that you memorize for a test. But those things that you see on a daily basis, those continual cycling of air conditioning that doesn't need to be cycling, or waste, or water running, those things that students see on a regular basis, those are lasting impressions. So what we want to do is have positive reinforcement. We want to have them see things that they'll just become habitual. And yeah, that's how we need to lead.
And Michigan State is in itself a small city, a community. We've got our own power plant, we've got roadways, we've got, you know, people who live here. So what we do here on campus is really can serve as a model for other universities, but also other cities, other communities across the world, because whatever issues that we're having, they're having too. And if we can find solutions to that and share that with other communities, then they can also address sustainability issues where they are.
Terrific. Well, we are just about out of time. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Laurie Thorp, for being here, and Jennifer Battle with the Office of Campus Sustainability, who does not use air conditioning. In the winter, she has a little campfire, which is kind of fun to watch. So you can always check out her office. I think you have marshmallows and hot dogs and things like that.
All the time.
Anytime.
Fair trade.
Fair trade.
Fair trade. Oh, sorry. Wow, this is getting way.
Tofu hot dog.
Right.
Okay, we're done. We want to let you know, if you want to know more about all the things we're talking about, you can go to our website, which is at msutoday.msu.edu. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm Jim Peck, and I'll see you right here next time on MSU Today in Studio.